Does that make sense?
Was just one more American life that wasn't protecting. No more.
What does fascist mean? So I wrote down a few things here. To me, hopefully I can actually do this quicker now that I have it all written down. Fascism is an ism, an idealism that centers around a populist, strong leader that uses very simple and conclusive rhetoric in a perverse manner. Okay, usually patriotic and perverse language, as in like freedom and whatever is patriotic to your country. That is exemplified by a hyper-nationalistic palingenetic nature. And palingenetic nature means a rebirth. So hyper-nationalistic means overtly nationalistic about a rebirth of your nation, which is in decay. And then there is a hyper-consolidation of private and state, which means private companies become adopted by the government because the government inevitably forces them to work underneath them. So private and state enterprises become non-existent. You can think of Volkswagen for like the German Nazi regime. A lot of companies that were private thought they were going to be safe, and they ended up having to co-opt or cooperate with the Nazi regime, aka they end up not being private anymore. And then the fifth thing would be the radical inclusion and radical exclusion that is necessary in a fascist regime. So that means there needs to be an enemy, and the strong leader then knows the problem, knows the enemy, and has very simple solutions that make you feel good. So to me, that is what fascism emulates. Now it's malleable. Fascism will never be the same for every country. It is an ism, just in the same way that like capitalism is not the same in every country. So like Finland has democratic socialism, mixed economy with capitalism, right? The United States has a different type of capitalism. So you have to think of it as more like an ism where it has some malleability. It's flexible. So like the Spanish fascism, all right, was very different from the Italian fascism. And then the Nazi fascism was very different from Mussolini's fascism. But they all ended up in a similar place. Is that okay? Or do I need to make it a little bit more concise?
More. One more child to sacrifice on the order and on the altar of open.
Very perverse and interesting language, right? This is all about illegal immigrants. Again, this is 8 years ago.
Open borders. What about our economy? Again, I will tell you the plain facts that have been edited out of your nightly news and your morning newspaper. Nearly 4 in 10 African American children are living in poverty, while 58% of African American youth are now not employed.
Uh.
2 million more Latinos are in poverty today than when President Obama took his oath of office less than 8 years ago. Another 14 million people.
Thank you. I try.
Have left the workforce
It's actually really
entirely.
nice to hear.
Household incomes are down more than.
These are a lot. Thank you very much for stopping by, Parush. Hopefully, I gave a good presentation of it. I wanted to do this a little more educational thing instead of watch garbage fucking videos for a bit, because I feel like when you hear the ideas fascism, right, people immediately jump to the Hitler 1943 killing Jews thing, right? And I really want to try and get across that the fascism that we know, you don't know that you're going to kill 6 million to 14 million people until all of a sudden you're killing 14 million people, right? So I feel like a good educational video, this was a good idea. But thank you very much for the kind words, too. Hope you have a wonderful night.
$4,000. Since the year 2000, that's 16 years ago, our trade deficit in goods reached nearly, think of this, our trade deficit is $800 billion. Yeah, think of that, $800 billion. Last year alone, we're gonna fix that.
Eight years ago, remember.
The budget is no better. President Obama has almost doubled our national debt to more than $19 trillion and growing.
Now, I'm going to stop it right here. This is something that is very important to the average American, is the idea that the deficit needs to be lowered, right? So he's utilizing the idea, simple language again, I can lower the deficit. But Trump, first term, deficit, and that's all I'm going to put. I'm not going to put any more. I don't want to get some bias into my Google search, right? What we're going to do is we are going to look at how much the deficit increased, just as a factual idea, okay? I'm not going to make any inferences from this. I'm not going to try and tell you Trump's policies suck. I'm not going to try and tell you he just couldn't get it done because he couldn't do his policies. I just think of the language he's using and then think of how it relates to why he's saying it and what he wants it to invoke in people, okay? Now, Trump added $7.2 trillion in his first term. COVID added a lot, but Trump continued spending like a fucking psycho, even after COVID, okay? Trump does not care about the deficit. He never has, he never will, and he only says this because it's simple. He knows it'll make people fucking like him, and that's all that matters to him, okay? Right now, Trump is spending an absurd amount of money 8 years later, okay? He has never once given a fuck about spending. That is a fact, okay? Now, I'm going to pull up the Treasury. If you want to know what this is the Treasury Department monthly receipt, okay? Let's just pull up. Where the fuck is it? Reading. No, it's going to be in March Treasury. 2025. We have March 31st. I have April as well, but if we look at this right now, okay? Year to date, in this year alone, Trump has spent $1.3 trillion over the deficit in the fiscal year of his current presidency. I just cannot stress enough that, like, what he says is always empty. There is no bone in this man's body that actually fucking cares about the deficit. But what he does know is that this will get him applauses right now.
And yet, what do we have to show for it? Our roads and bridges are falling apart.
If you want to fix those, by the way, you would add to the deficit. You would do government spending on infrastructure plans, by the way, to fix the roads. Sorry, I didn't mean to just like come in and just do like a economic brain thing here, but it's just so stupid sometimes that I just can't stop myself. But unrelated to the fascism thing, government spending is how you fix roads.
Our airports are third world condition, and 43 million Americans are on food stamps. Now, let us consider the state of affairs abroad. Not only have our citizens endured domestic disaster, but they've lived through one international humiliation after another, one after another. We all remember the images of our sailors being forced to their knees by their Iranian captors at gunpoint. This was just prior to the signing of the Iran deal, which gave back to Iran.
Wrong. The Iranian nuclear deal does not give Iran any money. It simply allows Iran to enter the markets of Western goods. We lift sanctions on Iran in exchange to go into their nuclear programs and their facilities to see exactly what they're doing. No dollar was given to Iran in the Iranian nuclear deal. But that didn't stop Trump from lying about it.
$150 billion and gave us.
We allowed them to buy goods from Western countries. We lift sanctions.
Absolutely nothing. It will go down.
If you ever want to know why we have a potential problem with Iran being nuclear right now, this man is the reason. He left the Iranian nuclear deal. Iran's not a country we could rely on. It's not like we always knew they were telling the truth, but they were letting us look into their facilities a little. That was no longer the case because of this man.
In history, as one of the worst deals ever negotiated. Another humiliation came when President Obama drew a red line in Syria, and the whole world knew it meant absolutely nothing. In Libya, our consulate, the symbol of American prestige around the globe, was brought down in flames. America is far less safe, and the world is far less stable than when Obama made the decision to put Hillary Clinton in charge of America's
None of this shit's gonna tell us why he's fascist, but
foreign
I mean, just strong leadership.
policy. No prosperity with safety at home, which means safe neighborhoods, secure borders. America.
This is more of the fascist stuff here.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo as long as we are led by politicians who will not put America first. Then we can be assured that other nations.
America first, by the way. What does that mean? Unknown to maybe Trump. I hope so. I highly doubt it, though. In the U.S., during the Nazi movement, the U.S. had a positive view of the Nazis in the 1930s. We didn't really dislike the Nazis until we entered the war. We even had this movement called America First in the U.S., okay? This is important because it was a big movement in the 1930s and 20s with almost 1 million members. Okay? This was a pro-Nazi group, and it's called the America First Committee. Now, using this language, America First, is a dog whistle, and a pretty fucking stupid one at that. It's plagued by the idea of being anti